The DF-3 missile, known in Western reporting as the CSS-2, occupies an important place in the early history of China's strategic missile development. Conceived in the late 1950s and entering service in the early 1970s, it was one of the first intermediate-range ballistic missiles in the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force inventory. The system was built around a single-stage liquid-fueled design, giving it the capability to strike targets out to roughly 2,800 to 3,000 kilometers in its original version, and up to around 4,000 kilometers in the improved DF-3A. This range allowed it to cover much of East and Southeast Asia as well as parts of the Indian Ocean region. The missile carried a heavy payload, generally a nuclear warhead of between 2 and 3 megatons, though it was also capable of carrying conventional or possibly chemical warheads. In terms of accuracy, its circular error probable was in the kilometer range, meaning it was most suited for counter-value rather than counterforce missions. Unlike modern solid-fueled systems mounted on highly mobile transporter erector launchers, the DF-3 was comparatively cumbersome. It relied on fixed or semi-mobile launch platforms and had to be fueled with volatile propellants shortly before launch, making it more vulnerable in crisis scenarios. Its launch vehicles were essentially towed or truck-mounted erector systems rather than the integrated heavy-road mobile TELs that characterize later Chinese designs. Despite these drawbacks, the DF-3 represented a credible strategic deterrent for China during the Cold War era and played a key role in establishing a long-range strike capability. It was deployed in significant numbers, with several brigades stationed across different regions of China to provide coverage against the Soviet Union, U.S. bases in Asia, and neighboring adversaries. By the 1980s and 1990s, however, the DF-3 was already becoming outdated compared with newer solid-fueled systems such as the DF-21. Many units were gradually phased out as China modernized its missile forces, prioritizing survivability, rapid reaction, and precision. Yet the missile achieved a second life abroad. In 1988, China sold an undisclosed number of DF-3A missiles to Saudi Arabia, marking one of the earliest known cases of Chinese ballistic missile exports. The Saudi Royal Strategic Missile Force deployed these missiles in the desert, housed in secure bases, and they remained in service into the 21st century. The transfer demonstrated both China's willingness to export strategic weapons and Saudi Arabia's determination to acquire a long-range strike option independent of Western suppliers. As of the 2010s, China had retired the DF-3 from its own arsenal, replacing it with more modern and survivable systems, including the DF-21 and the longer-range DF-26, which are road-mobile and dual-capable. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, kept the DF-3A operational but gradually shifted focus toward newer systems, including Chinese-supplied DF-21 variants. By 2026, the DF-3 is effectively a legacy system, retained in very small numbers by Saudi Arabia for deterrent or symbolic purposes but largely eclipsed by modern missile technologies. Its significance today lies less in operational utility and more in its historical role as a stepping stone in ballistic missile development, marking China's emergence as a strategic missile power and serving as a reminder of the first wave of missile proliferation that reshaped military balances in the late Cold War period. Would you like me to also prepare a 500-word similar update on the DF-26 TEL, since I think you might have meant that instead of the older DF-3?